so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real. I am Irelynn, and as always, I am with Jenni McKenna.
Whoop, whoop.
And we are finally listening to Christmas music. We're shopping. You guys are cutting down a Christmas tree tomorrow for the first time ever.
First time ever. And I don't know how it's going to turn out. We're going up to Cedar City. We are going to go to this little area where the map is. You have to be 100 feet from any road, and then you're going to find your tree. And everybody that knows me keeps saying that I don't think you're going to like this experience, Jenni, because you like perfection. And when you're out there with a natural Christmas tree, I guess they don't look the same.
We spent a lot of time at the Christmas stands just checking every single tree, and then you would have Max rotate the tree because you had to make all sides look good. And I'm pretty sure when we were kids, it was like 5 minutes in, let's get that one. And then we spent another 45 minutes just waiting for you to make your final decision.
Yeah, so this one's going to be interesting. It's going to end up being about a 7 to 8 hour journey going up, cutting it down, bringing it back. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be a one and done. I don't know. Well, I'll keep you posted.
But we're going to give a little bit of Christmas presents in the form of advice.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's our Christmas gift to you guys.
There you go. I didn't even think you were going to go that way, but that makes sense. So we have some questions that have come in over the course of the last 6 months. And I said to Irelynn, let's pick a couple of these and then share our advice. And that's great. We'll do it during this holiday festive giving opportunity.
This giving time.
Yeah. So the first one is somebody who wrote in and said, owning rentals with my wife is testing our teamwork more than our marriage ever did. I wonder how you would feel when you work with your dad, your husband, your daughter, and your son.
Like that wasn't your plan the whole time. She was planning it. She was pulling the strings in the background.
I digress. This is about this individual. Me and my wife bought a few rental properties together a couple of years ago, and lately it's been causing more tension than either of us expected. We both work hard and earn well, but when it comes to the rentals, deciding who handles what, how to split expenses, or who deals with tenants, we just can't seem to stay on the same page. It's not about the money itself. It's about control and communication. She feels I'm too strict with budgets, and I think she's too lenient with repairs and tenant requests. Sometimes I wonder if couples should treat co-owning property like a business partnership with clear written agreements from the start, because emotions really get in the way. And they have asked, has anyone had trouble separating us as a couple from us as co-owners? Irelynn, I'm going to let you start. What do you think about this?
Well, I think the answer of is anyone else struggling is yes. But the good news is that we see people work through it. So I think it's totally possible. We have quite a few owners in our portfolio that even have notes that are like, for accounting, call so-and-so, but for repair, call so-and-so. So there's obviously been couples who have come to the decision, oh, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. So I do think not all hope is lost. It's absolutely possible. And the other thing of, should we make it a business arrangement? Absolutely.
Yes.
But that's just across the board. This is your investment. This is a way to make income. You should treat it as such. So I can completely understand where this person's coming from, but I think it's totally possible to resolve the issue. I think that with the maintenance question, I always like the idea of having like a one thing, almost like Gary Keller, right?
Mm-hmm. One
so
thing.
Gary Keller always says, like, what's your one thing? And that's more so in the regards of motivating yourself. But you can even implement that with your investments. If the tenant wants a repair, what's like the one thing that's going to lead to that decision that both you and your wife can agree on? And the answer should be, does this better my investment and better my ROI? Or you can mix up the question however you see fit. But if your resident wants damaged blinds to be replaced because they're 8 years old and their sun damaged, and you ask the question together, will this improve my investment? And the answer is yes. Then it's not a matter of what you want or what she wants. It's a matter of what's going to get you the best result and the best ROI and the best care for your home. So that'd be kind of my advice.
And that comes down to being more co-business partners. You're not going to have the emotion involved. And when Max and I started doing our investments, we found out what we were both good at. So he's really good with accounting, and I'm really good at telling residents no. So my thought is always, if it's a cosmetic thing, it doesn't need to be repaired. That can be discussed at a lease renewal as kind of a win-win for both parties. Hey, you want to stay in the property? Hey, I want you to stay in the property. Oh, but I need my blinds to be replaced. Okay, great. I'll do it at the lease renewal, and market determines that maybe it should be $50 or $75 more in rent. Then it makes sense, right? So I think deciding what in this business arrangement, what each one is good at, they become that specialist in that business arrangement.
And if you might both have the same strength, that's when you can lean on your property manager. If the property manager is presenting you a bid and you're asking, should we not do it? And you are thinking one way and she's thinking the other way, you can kind of use that unbiased third party and take advantage of their opinion. I've seen that before, where owners come back and say, we're kind of, at a stalemate. What do you suggest? And sometimes I say, no, it's cosmetic. Who cares? Other times I'll say, I think this would be a good idea to take care of. So always lean on that, like, consultant, almost, that advisor. If you're treating it like a business arrangement, you're gonna want to always advise with somebody in any business arrangement. So use your property managers to that advantage.
When I got into real estate, they said, you're going to wear a lot of hats in real estate. You're going to be a psychiatrist. You're going to be an accountant. And one of the things that I know for sure is, it sounds like in this scenario that they don't have a property manager.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is, we're kind of a marriage therapist too, because if you involve a property manager in this in your rental world, they take a lot of the pressure off. Just like Irelynn said, they're going to give you their opinion. They're going to find the right vendors. A lot of what they might be disagreeing about can be resolved by just having that third-party professional company. So not to toot our own horn, but we kind of are. If you are involved in something that is becoming kind of like not what you want it to be, taking up too much time, too much energy, just everything, maybe that's the time you outsource it.
I'd say so.
Yeah. All right. So that's the first one. Let's go to this second one. You want to read this one?
Sure.
All
so
right.
The second one that we had was, my property management company is completely mismanaging my condo. Any recommendations? I own a modest condo, and the property management company that manages it has made serious breaches of contract. I don't know if it'd be worth filing a suit, but they've cost me so much money and created a huge burden of stress. If I change companies, won't I lose all the fees I paid and essentially have to absorb the cost of their mismanagement? Some of the issues that they have dealt with is, they charge thousands in repairs without being given approval and unlawfully withheld rental payments to me. They attempted to bully me into paying half of what I never approved, and only after a lot of back and forth, they finally removed these charges as requested. Did not clear out previous tenant items in the unit's storage closet or even bother checking it before renting the unit to somebody else, so it's full of junk. Most recently, the tenant broke the lease and caused damage to my unit, some of which the company didn't even catch in their inspection, and they want me to eat the cost of normal wear and tear even though it's clearly pet damage. They're pressuring me to lower the rent even though the tenant who broke the lease is on the hook to pay rent until it's rented.
That's a lot to unpack. But let's start with number one. I am sorry that this individual is involved with a property management company that is not doesn't obviously have integrity. And that's unfortunate because in our industry, I would like to see all of us have a high level of integrity when you're dealing with, individuals, assets that are in the $500,000 range. But let's go over what he indicated, that they did repairs, thousands of dollars of repairs without approval. It could have been an emergency. That's my thought. Because when you're
Yeah.
dealing with $1,000 of worth of repairs and they had to do it quickly, I'm thinking it had to be something with habitability, AC, heater, water, hot water.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't approve it, sometimes the property manager has to get those things done.
Absolutely. And I think kind of circling back to his first thought, which is I might lose all these fees that I've paid. Every PMA or property manager should make you sign a property manager agreement. And just like how I tell residents, read your lease start to finish, make sure you're actually signing something that you know. I say the same thing to owners. Just read your property manager agreement because there are things in there that stipulate certain things, such as your broker, your property manager might be able to make repairs on your behalf if it's an emergency. And so, step one, obviously, I know he's in this current contract, but before you sign a contract, read it start to finish. Just make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. For example, McKenna Property Management, our PMA is a 12-month PMA. So, in his scenario, I don't know how long his PMA is for, but if any owner doesn't love our services or is just not a good fit, they can give us a notice and it's a 1-year contract. So that might also be something he would want to look into, is kind of seeing what those penalties are, because maybe he thinks he's going to have more penalties than he actually will, especially if the property is vacant. Sometimes when the unit's vacant, that PMA could be voided with no penalties. So you just kind of always want to read the contract that you're signing.
And every contract, honestly, can be negotiated because when he signed the contract, there were no issues, right? There wasn't anything that he was upset about. A broker of a property management company is not going to want to stay in business with somebody that really doesn't like them. It's just not a good fit. So if he has been with them and it sounds like the property's vacant, he might just want to go to the broker and say, hey, look, I need out. We just don't see eye to eye. I don't think that you're managing the property the way I want you to. What's my out strategy? And 9 out of 10 times, the broker's going to be like, okay, just pay me what you owe me and then I'll release you. Because why do they want to stay in a crappy relationship? It's not worth it, especially at the percentages that property management companies charge. They're just not at a high percentage.
I also think something just that he mentioned where he said the storage unit full of junk. Technology is so evolved today, and almost every property management company is going to document the move out. So asking for those photos, if you're not already receiving them from the very beginning of your vacancy, your property manager definitely has photos of the property. If you're not in town, just ask for them. They should be able to send them over, and then you would be able to get eyes on the condition of the home in that moment rather than post repairs, post the closeout, which it sounds like that's what he's dealing with.
And
so never be afraid to ask.
On that line, I like what you're saying because even today, we had a move out and we actually was going to release all of the security deposit to the past resident because they left the property in great shape. We sent the photos to the owner and then the owner emailed back and said, hey, the fridge looks a little gunky. Is there any way we can get a wipe down on the fridge? And we saw a little bit of a mess underneath one of the bathroom sinks. So we were like, we didn't catch it. It was in the photo, but when we were looking through everything, we just didn't catch it, human error. But because their eyes got put on it, we are going to send out just a really light janitorial, maybe like a $150 charge, get all that wiped down so that we can get it on the market for rent. And the owner actually helped us. And I always think in property management, the owner and the property manager, they're a team. It does no benefit for a property manager to leave a property vacant. They only get paid when rent comes in. They want to find and secure a great resident because, again, if you have to evict them, that's just a bunch of time, energy, and money from the property manager. So I would say, great idea. Ask for those photos and then maybe catch something that they didn't catch.
Yeah.
And as far as pet, that's a tough one. I mean, we do a lot of move outs, and some days when there's humidity in the air, yes, there's humidity sometimes in Las Vegas, you'll walk into a property and it'll smell a little bit like pet. But 4 days earlier, when there wasn't any humidity, nobody smelt it. So I don't know exactly what pet damage he's talking about, but that is unfortunate that it didn't get caught. Again, there is a little bit of human error,
Yeah.
And it sounds like since the resident moved out early, he breached the lease, which should be a forfeit of security. And then let's clarify his last statement when he said, the management company wants me to lower the rent, but the past resident is on the hook. At least in Nevada, I'm only speaking for Nevada, no judge is going to award that to a landlord.
Yeah.
The judge is going to say, look, you got the security. You can charge 1 month's rent because it took 1 month to get the property up and running. So yeah, charge the past resident that 1 month. And you can charge the resident for any past utilities and, things to get it on the market. But if you go to a judge and say, they bailed 6 months early, so I want all 6 months, he's going to say, what? No, you should have put it back on the market and actively try to re-rent it. And in Nevada, that just doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think a lot of states, don't fully quote me, but a lot of states have the stipulation of you have to make an active effort to rent it out. And part of that active effort is keeping it within market value. If you are trying to rent out a property 3 times more than what the market should be allowing, that judge can also say you weren't making an active effort, you were overpricing your unit, and then that's not okay. So I think that's kind of something to know too, is that's part of what the active effort is keeping it within that market value. And then also just, I always think to myself, you don't want your property empty. You don't want your appliances not being ran for 6 months, or your toilets not being flushed for 3 months, or your plumbing not being used. A home that sits untouched sometimes starts to have issues. So
it likes to scream at you.
Yeah.
I always think a home wants to be loved, a condo, a townhome, all of it. It wants things to be living in that property. The AC, the heater, all of it. So when you leave a property vacant, you are just asking for trouble. And not only that, but every city, everywhere has squatters. You don't want to be in a situation where a squatter decides to pop in there because it's freezing cold at night, and then they could give, they don't care about what they're going to do on the carpet or flush the toilets or whatever. And then that's just going to cost you more money to clean it back up.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was probably a bad thing that the property manager is being honest about what the fair market rent is. I just think this individual's already lost the trust of the property manager.
The teamwork isn't there anymore.
And when you lose trust in a property manager, you should probably look for another property manager because you're more than likely not going to get it back.
Yeah.
That's my thought. All right. So we have another one. All right. So this one, do you think we have time for this?
Yeah, because this answer's real short.
Okay. I think Irelynn already knows what she's going to say. So this is, tenant has a great rate on a studio apartment, probably the best in town. However, they have been renting 4 months now and always pay $10 less than the rent amount, despite the rent amount clearly stated in the signed lease. The first couple months, she has gone back to the bank and deposited the missing $10 after being messaged about it, and a lot of back and forth. The second time, we waived a late fee even though she completed the rent late. She completed it as rent late. But this month now, she again paid late and $10 short. Why is she doing this as $10 short? It's like she just wants to aggravate everyone. The lease states there is a $20 late fee if they pay late. So I messaged her saying, as is lease policy, she needs to complete rent and the late fee, $30. She refuses and pays no more. Obviously, the woman is taking charge of the lease, paying the rent amount she wants and when she wants, despite the contract she signed. But the only card I see for a property manager is sending the 5-day notice and filing in court for an eviction hearing. What else can you do? You can fine them, but you can't make them pay? Question mark. So where are we at?
So my answer is don't accept the partial payment.
Ding,
Simple
ding,
as that.
ding.
You do not have to accept a partial payment. Again, in the state of Nevada, most states, you don't have to accept a partial payment. When you have a late fee or a utility charge or something of that nature, it is considered part of the rent. And so if they're not providing that money, they're not providing the full rent, you don't have to accept it. I've been in these situations. I think the first month and the second month, there should be communication and there should be some leniency and there should be some conversation. There's no reason to come in hot and heavy on the very first time. But if this is becoming a repetition, that's when you have to establish, no, this isn't going to happen. And so I've had those conversations with people where I say, I'm going to accept your payment this month, but just so you know that $10, it's going to roll over into next month. And then next month, if you don't provide me the full rent, I will be denying it. Mm-hmm. So I do give almost like a full month's heads up whenever I have that conversation. I'm never just shocking somebody that day. But if they then come in that next month and they're short, I'll say, I'm not accepting this. We had a conversation last month. You need to come up with the remaining amount. For this specific person, I will say it sounds like maybe she's not thinking of the cost of what a money order or a cashier's check costs. A money order or a cashier's check is right around $10. So I've had that exact same conversation where someone says, I brought the money and I had the full amount, but then the fee to get the cashier's check was $10, so I'm $10 short. Again, that's why it's month 1, month 2, they probably don't know. We're communicating that. But month 3, month 4, just don't accept it. Set those rules and go from there.
I see red flags all over this. I see this resident as big red flags. So after the second month, I would be absolutely just like what Irelynn said. It is all of what you owe or I'm not accepting it. And then on that month that I do file the 7-day pay or quit, there would be a conversation with the resident that says, hey, and oh, by the way, if I go to court, I don't have to accept anything. Yeah. I do not, you're already in breach. So if I go before the judge and you might have the money right then and there, the judge will look at me and say, do you accept it? And I can say no. And if I say no, she's going to have to be out in 10 days. Now, obviously that causes, contention and problems and everything. But I think you need to educate the resident that they can't play games. This is a contract, just like, the individual wrote the question. She needs to play the rules of the contract because quite honestly, the owner has to play the rules of the contract too.
And I think it's completely fine to be generous once, but what I've practiced is that I vocalize that generosity. If I'm accepting a partial payment and I'm rolling over $25, I make it very clear in that moment. I'm accepting this even though I shouldn't, as a courtesy to you, as a one-time courtesy to you. This is what I expect in the following months. And I'm not doing it to be passive. I'm not doing it to expect praise. I'm doing it to establish this is a one-time courtesy. This is not something that's going to become a pattern. So I think communication helps with that. Don't be afraid to be nice that 1 or 2 times. That makes you feel like it helps strengthen that relationship. Mm-hmm. But after that first or second time, it's no longer a courtesy. It's following the contract.
Absolutely. And even though you did that, even though you might have waived it on the first or the second month, that doesn't mean that it changes any contractual obligation. So I see red flags. I'd be careful moving forward. I would make sure I got all of the rent. And if there's a late fee, then they need to pay that late fee, or yes, serve them that 7-day pay or quit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if anyone has any other questions or stories or conversations, please send them in, comment below. We'll be happy to hear them, or you can email them in with our information. But this was Thoughts for Rent. We kept it real with a couple of your questions, and we love getting them. And if you love hearing them and hearing these stories, then please like and subscribe and follow, and we'll be happy to take you along. But until then, I hope you have a good holiday. Bye, guys.
Oh, there you go. Sound good? Okay, good. I'll pass over to Irelynn. Here you go, kid.
Thanks, Pops.